Turn it on.
Okay, this is Gary. I was going to do a video earlier in the week talking about how you want to plant your tomatoes early so you can get a jump on the season, and you might have to cover them up, but you look at the long range forecast. If it looks good, you're fine. I planted these tomatoes February 20th. For the past month we've had great temperatures, hadn't had to cover them, and hadn't even gotten into the 30s yet. But Tuesday when I made the video, everything looked good. They were showing the highs, which the lows for the week was going to be 41 degrees as lowest. That was going to happen Sunday night. Since that time, they've lowered it 11 degrees. Now they're saying the temperature can get down to 30, which is kind of a, almost a worst case scenario, because I was kind of prepared for a frost. I can handle the frost. All you have to do is cover them. You have to worry about the temperature getting any lower. Throw a plastic bucket over it, you're fine. But with freezing, I don't know if they're going to make it or not, or we are going to cover them. We'll be doing that tomorrow. It's supposed to get down to 36 tonight, but I'm going to kind of just leave them out and see what happens. I still don't regret planting them early. You have to get planted tomatoes early, or they're not going to make. If you plant them, try to wait till Easter or middle of April, you're really taking a chance for it getting too hot. So it's worked the last 3 or 4 years. Thing about gardening, what you did last year worked great, may not work this year, and this year may be one of those years that I have to replant. I do have some extra tomato plants I can replant. I do know that House Tools is selling some of the little bitty plants. I may, if they die, I might order, you have to order like 10 of the same variety, which I can do and put out. But it's kind of, it is what it is. If it doesn't work, I'm still going to talk about it. But anyway, let's look at the tomato plants. I'm not going to show each individual, I'm not going to name each individual plants just because they may die, so I didn't want to take the chance. Now this one here is a Sun Gold. The good thing about Sun Gold, and these are good, nice, healthy looking plants, and
sorry about that.
But it's already starting to flower out. It's got a second set of blooms on it, so they look really nice. Hope they look nice Monday morning. This whole row, and we're just kind of go through the rows. They're all starting to put buds on. This is a row of the cherry tomatoes. Got all different kinds of cherry tomatoes: Tropic, Sunset, Coyote, Pink Bumblebee, Blush, Champagne Bubbles. Like I say, we talked about the Sun Gold. So those are all those different kinds. This here is the indeterminates, and they're looking good too. They're not quite as far along as far as bloom set. There is one here, I think the worm damage, something got it down here on the bottom. So I have to replace it regardless. But these are the indeterminate plants. You can kind of see how they're doing, and they're looking nice. Again, I'm going to try to put a tarp or the landscape fabric over the top of them to see if that survives. This one here is blooming out and doing good. The next row is determinate tomatoes, and most of these are Hausenators and Roadster. A couple of them I've had to replace. That's one that's more like this. Something broke it off the original one up, so I put a new one in. That's why it's a little bit smaller. The wind got up last weekend and whipped stuff back and forth. That's one of these ones kind of looking like it is. It's kind of getting whipped again. It's probably not going to make it, but I'm going to leave it there and see what happens. It may not make it anyway. But this one here starting to bud out, and got a lot of buds on it. The next row is my paste tomatoes. There are 3 different kinds. They're Shelby, Invincible, and Tashi. They're looking really good. They need to be. If it hadn't been cold, I would have done the Florida weave on these and got them trellised up. But I didn't want the Florida weed to get in my way whenever I have to put in whatever I'm going to do to cover these. We're going to walk over here and look at the onions. They've been looking really good. They died back to the ground when we had the freeze and Christmas. The lower part showing the garlic. Over here, this is the old rootstock. The original plant died off. I might have showed this before, but the old rootstock, this is your original plant that you're trying to grow. It died, and then below the grass came up the rootstock, and this is kind of what the rootstock looks like.
I can't get it. Starting to focus on the grass.
And this is one. This is our trifoliate, so it's a little bit, and it's a navel orange. We covered this thing up with the landscape fabric, threw a blanket over it, watered it down, put the mulch. You see all this mulch around it up on top of it, and it did save. You know, this is coming out at the base, so that's fine. It's not the root stock; it's the actual original tree. It even's got some blooms on it, so hopefully that'll survive the freeze. But you know, I'm pleased with what we've done to protect it. And like I said, we got down to 12 to 13 degrees this year. So, and this is not a frost or a cold tolerant plant. They say, you know, upper 20s is what it's supposed to survive. So, you know, I've made it work. We'll see how long it works. But you know, I'm pleased with this one. It's done well, and it got really good taste of fruit, really sweet fruit. This here is the potatoes. Now, potatoes can take a freeze. If it freezes all the way down to the ground, they still got some stuff underneath it. They'll come on up and do okay. The reason you're seeing the different stages is I planted these first, and these second, and third, and fourth. One reason you do that is so you can get some variability whenever you harvest them. The other reason is it takes a lot of energy to, you know, put these in. So I do that one day, and I come back the next week and put in the next one, and so they're looking good. We'll see how they do with the frost. The frost will knock them back. The freeze and or frost will knock them back. But I'm not real worried about the potatoes because they can freeze back to the ground and still put some growth up underneath. I will come through here and throw up some healing, H-I-L-L-I-N-G, and see how that works. We're gonna go up around here. Now, I don't consider my tomatoes, planting them early, a mistake. But if you see down there, I planted the beans. That was a mistake. But I looked at the long-range forecast. Everything looked good, so I knew it was kind of early, so I went ahead and planted them. They can't take a frost or a freeze, and it's been really hard to cover those up. They're looking good. I mean, good germination and all that, but we're going to see what happens. Again, they're going to kind of be on their own. If it freezes back, I got to replant them. Got to buy some more seeds. I've used up almost all the seed. This here's where I planted the Ohio Blue. It's starting to come up. We'll see how it does. It can't. No, that's not Ohio Blue. Okay. We will. We'll see how they do. I do got enough seed. If I have to replant, I can. It will mess up my timing. They can take a little bit of cold weather. They can take, I think, down to 28 degrees before it kills them. Is what the book says. We'll find out what it actually makes it down to. Over here, it's going to be our sweet corn. And it's jumped up and it's looking really good. I think it'll handle the freeze better than the other corn will because it's a little bit older. I forgot the name of this. Anyway, it's a sweet corn. It's not the field corn like the other one is. And it's the one we're going with all organics, and it really kind of kills me because I won't put fertilizer on it, but I haven't yet. Because when you grow corn, they always need a lot of fertilizer, and that's my natural reaction. So, well, it could probably use a little bit of corn, but I'm not going to do it. At least not yet. And then this is going to be the Guthrie, and this thing has made a lot of little plums on it. I will need to go in here and spray them for worms once it warms back up, because worms really like plums. But I've been able to make with the Chickasaw plum. This is improved Chickasaw plum. I've got Guthrie, and I got Odom. One way to tell them apart is the Guthrie does not have a bunch of root sprouts coming up. And if you look over here at the Odom, you're seeing these root sprouts here coming up. I really should have taken them down because this is just going to make a big mass growth. So I'm going to end up cut all these out. Okay, I understand. So if you ever know anybody that's got the Odom plum, I'm sure that'd give you dig up and give you one of the root sprouts in the winter, because I would. And they're going to have some roots to them, so they'll do okay. Okay, camera went out. Anyway, this here is the
Chickasaw, you said?
Chickasaw. The only reason I'm planting this is ready to get pollination for the other ones, which I'm not sure I'm really needing it because it didn't bloom that much and we still had all kinds of pollination. So I may end up taking these out, I don't know. But I was afraid the first couple of years they weren't pollinating real good, but I think it just takes a couple of years for them to start producing a lot. So anyway, we come on down here. This is I would say Jiu-Jitsu, and that's not the right word. This is a lemonade tree. We got down to 12, 13 degrees this year. It took a lot of damage, but it did survive. So a lot of times when they say they can take down to a certain temperature, you get this. And you know, I'm pleased. We did mount some dirt around the bottom of it. I did put a generator on the other side of it, but other than that, didn't do much for it. Like I say, it has suffered some damage. A lot of these limbs here have died back. But I'm kind of proud of it, the fact that it just survived. It's not, you know, usually citrus won't survive down 12, 13. When it got down to 14 degrees 2 years ago, it didn't have any protection other than the little tarp deal that's up there. That's all we put up for any protection at all, and it made it too. So it is pretty winter hardy. But I will say, you never know. It is a bigger tree, so it's able to take more damage, and we could get less freeze and it kill it. So freeze damage is kind of one of those things that every freeze is different, and you lose different things based on that. Let's go back over here for a second. Okay. I will show you some nectarine. I think it's Arctic Glow. And it's loaded down again this year. Now I will say the worms will attack the fire out of this thing. And I think I've already seen it. They already hit it once, so I need to get in there and spray it. Right now it's too cold, so they're not going to be working, but as soon as it warms back up, I'll spray it again. So nectarines do take a lot of damage from worms. But that's just got nice smooth skin. That's where the worms hit first. But the plum curculio hits first. And then over here, I have planted some green magic broccoli. This is one of the blackberries that's come up. Now I don't know where or not it's from that blackberry, which is sweetie pie. I got pumpkin over there, and then we have the Primark Freedom over here. So
it's gone crazy.
Yeah, they went all over the place. And then these are the carrots. I had to plant 3 times because something was eating them down. Well, first the freeze killed them, and it did okay. I replanted them, and something that, you know, they would sprout, and then something would eat them. I didn't know if it was a birds or didn't know if it was an insect or what. And then the 3rd time I planted them, you know, they did survive. I did put some of poison down to kill the fire ants. It was it's one that's actually, it's one that's certified. I forgot the name of it, but Come and Get It, I think is what it's called. I put that down, and it seemed like when I did that, whatever was eating them, I guess ate the other stuff too and killed them. But anyway, they made, and like I say, I'll put a follow-up video after we have the freeze, and I might show a short video of showing how we, you know, try to protect the tomato plants, and but you know, we're going to see what happens, and so kind of stick around. We'll kind of go through this together and see if it makes it or not. But like I say, whenever you grow tomatoes, it is a danger. I like planting my tomatoes early, but getting one of these freak freezes, because our last freeze date's around March 5th, and now it's March 18th. So, you know, it really shouldn't be getting it, but we have, so we kind of got to deal with the hand that's dealt us and see what happens. Anyway, thanks for watching.